In this video, we're going to talk about the stock sync. So first thing you need to know about stock sync is what is it for? Normally, if you're coming from an e-commerce solution and you've never used an inventory management software before, you have inventory available on your web store, and that's totally normal. However, if you're growing your business and maybe you are selling through different sales channels but are fulfilling from one location, then it becomes more and more important that the more places you list your product, you get the actual quantity of stock available back to those sales channels, so that way it's deducted properly if another sales channel fulfills for you. This prevents the problem of overselling. You don't want to sell something you don't have to a client because that's a very poor customer experience. So what you might have to do is you have to opt to use an inventory management solution as you start to spread your business and continue to grow. So the stock sync is very vital for this purpose. So first things first is that we need to activate the stock sync, and activating the stock sync can be done by reconfiguring from the integration menu and going to the sync setup page and clicking on this checkbox. Okay, so talking about the stock sync, how it works. I mentioned in the initial video for the importing of your data that when you turn this on, you need to have matching SKUs between Katana and WooCommerce. This is absolutely critical. If you don't have this, you won't have a working stock sync. So SKU, which stands for stock keeping unit, is the unique identifier that you would assign to all of your inventory trackable items. This is the reference point. So as long as it has a matching SKU between your Katana account and your WooCommerce account, then you can update the inventories on your WooCommerce account to reflect what's said in Katana. The stock sync is intended to make it so you will use Katana stock levels as the source of truth. So from this point forward, you should never rely on WooCommerce being your source of truth for your stock levels. You would use Katana as your stock level source of truth. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the numbers that are related to stock, because when you're using an inventory solution, like for Katana, like inventory tracking, and you're using WooCommerce inventory tracking, they actually mean slightly different things. In Katana, you have three types of inventory categories. This includes your in-stock quantity, which is the amount of items you physically have in your warehouse, like physically. Then you have your expected quantities, which are the number of items that are presently waiting to arrive to inventory. This can be a manufacturing order that hasn't been completed, or this can be a purchase order that hasn't been received. So once those items come in, then the in-stock quantity of actual physical goods will increase. Then we have something called committed. So committed is actually more like the demand placed against your existing inventory. And if you have a committed quantity, then it means that there are open sales orders that are requesting those products but have not sent them out yet. So that's what a commitment is. Commitments will reduce when the sales order is sent out. Not only will the commitment reduce, but also the inventory that is in stock, which is this number here, will reduce. Now, there can be a difference between your actual in-stock quantity on your Katana account and your inventory stock on your WooCommerce account. And I'll explain the difference here. The way it works in WooCommerce is if you look at your products and you go into one of the products, in this case, we're looking at our t-shirt here, you can see that I have a stock quantity of 6. That sounds a bit weird. What does that mean? It means that you have available for sale 6 units. But even if you have 6 units available for sale, you could actually physically have more inventory available, because if you have 6 available, it actually is taking into account your in-stock quantity, which could be higher, minus the demand generated from open orders. So a good example of this is that right now my stock quantity on WooCommerce is 6. If I look at my inventory page for the exact same item, you'll see that my shirt demo, I actually have 9 pieces in inventory according to it. But I have 3 pieces committed. So I've got 3 of these items presently being committed to orders. So I've got 2 pieces for this WooCommerce order, and I have one piece for this WooCommerce order, which is a commitment of 3 units. So your in-stock quantity minus your committed equals your available quantity of stock, which means that 9 minus 3 equals 6. 6 gets pushed back to your WooCommerce store for the item that has this SKU, SHIRT. So for that item, that's how the stock sync works. So if, for example, I were to, let's say, change the stock level from 9 pieces to 10 through a stock adjustment, then it will be 10 minus 3. It'll be 10 minus 3, which should equal 7. So just as an overview, when you're using the stock sync, it is very much based on this calculation. So if you see a mismatch between the two, then it's mainly because of that, not because the stock sync is broken. It's just the logic is different. I'll give you a little overview. Let's give it a try and I'll show you how it works. So let's do a stock adjustment where I will add the shirt item and we'll increase the quantity by 1 unit. So we now have 10. So once that has been done, then this should push the new stock level of not 10, but 7 back to the WooCommerce inventory. So let's do that calculation to make sure everything lines up correctly. Here's the shirt, 10 pieces minus 3 pieces equals 7. So if we go into our page here and update, and we look at inventory levels, then you can see that the stock quantity changed to 7. So that's how the stock sync works. And this also pertains to anytime you're adding inventory through the receipt of a purchase order or the completion of a manufacturing order, and that specific stock item will increase at that moment in time. Now, a couple other things worth noting is if you are using multiple WooCommerce stores and you turn on the stock sync, and you map those WooCommerce stores directly to the same warehouse on your Katana side. Then, for example, here in the settings page, I'll just give you a quick overview. Every single independent WooCommerce store will have its own settings. So if you have this store and a second store, and in the configuration, they are mapped to the exact same location, and then what Katana will do is it will take everything that's in this one location that you have in for those SKUs, and it will update it to both stores with the same quantity based on whatever you map here in your location settings. So it's kind of an interesting thing that you need to keep an eye on, especially if you're selling in multiple WooCommerce channels. That should give you a nice little overview of the stock sync and how it works and how you can use it and better understand it whenever you are making your stock available on your website. So of course, if you have questions about that topic, feel free to read further into our knowledge base or send us a message in our chat bubble down below.